Have you ever gotten a train of emails and you're like, wait a minute, am I an influencer? For a very niche game console? I'm your cool Uncle Marissa, and I am here today with some Playdate games for you. I wanted to do my Season 1, Season 2 reviews first, but I have kept some wonderful folks who have shared either news of their games or their games themselves with me, waiting for long enough. I am actually not a very good influencer because I take a very long time. In my next video, I will be reviewing dinosaurs. What? Oh, they're not. Anyway, before we get into it, I just want to throw out a huge thank you to everyone who has sent me codes for their games or even news of their games. The Playdate community is so cool, and if you don't know that or don't know what the Playdate is, you can check out my video on my love letter to the Playdate, which explains a lot of that in a very biased way, but that's showbiz, baby. Now, one thing that we are going to cover in this video is Crankboy. I have mixed feelings about Crankboy as a concept because a lot of you guys have expressed to me, I don't want a Playdate because it doesn't emulate games. Bro, I am tired of emulation consoles. I just want to play the games, and I play them on, native hardware. Not everyone can do that, but there's plenty enough of these. The girls are fighting. My cats. But yeah, there's plenty of ways to emulate, of all things, Game Boy games. Why are you like, oh, I won't buy this $200 console because it doesn't emulate Game Boy games, when you could literally go and buy a $40 console to emulate Game Boy games? Why does that make it worthless to you when the worth of the Playdate is the fact that it's a console that has original games that don't really function on other platforms? But for you sickos, there is Crankboy. I saw Crankboy on the Playdate Discord, and then I also received an email from the creator of Crankboy, and Crankboy is, again, Game Boy Emulation on the Playdate. So we're gonna look at that. Spoiler alert, it runs very smoothly. Otherwise, everything else is a Playdate game, and let's jump in. When Daniel Draper, the creator of Super Splash League, reached out to me, he described the game as a turn-based tactical RPG where you play this dude who joins a water fight team, and basically you are fighting to get to the top. As a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics and other turn-based tactical RPGs of that ilk, I was really excited to give this a go, and it definitely is what it says. It has a tactics-based, grid-based, turn-based battle system, and it's a lot of fun. You also have side quests in addition to the main quest of winning the tournament, and when you do the side quests, they help you level up your stats as well. The art is really nice. I especially like the environment art and the character sprites. The character portraits are a bit hit and miss sometimes. I don't know if they were drawn by different people, but some of them look more of the world than others. One rival character literally looks like Shikamaru from Naruto, which I had to look it up because it has been so long since I watched Naruto, but I absolutely had a crush on that character at the time. If you've ever played a tactics game, the gameplay is quite intuitive, but it doesn't really have too much of a tutorial when it comes to things like all the different special moves you can do or the differences between weapons. You kind of just have to try them out and see what happens. But because of that, I also wasn't sure if your location on the map made any difference. Like if you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, for example, or Fire Emblem or any of these kinds of games, if you are on lower ground, for example, you're more of a target than if you are on higher ground. And I'm not really sure, I didn't feel like it affected anything. It felt like the only thing that had a strong impact was whether your back was turned to the enemy or, you were attacking them from the back. I played on normal mode. There's 3 modes, the easy, normal, and difficult, as you saw. And normal mode felt quite easy. I think I lost maybe just 1 or 2 times. And I think I finished the game in about 3-4 hours max. I think if I played it again, I'd definitely try out the harder mode. Because if you've played a tactics game before, the normal mode felt very casual, but I also really appreciate that because I think it's better to kind of under-bake the difficulty in a normal mode than to overbake it. As someone who often does play games on casual mode or story-centric mode. Also, a huge shout out to just the legibility in this game, both in terms of the environments, character sprites, the text. For a game that could very easily become very busy, this game was always very legible. With the sets that you battle on, there's a lot of variation as well visually. And regardless, it was always easy to read. Sometimes it was difficult for me to know who was on my team and who wasn't because some of the sprites are very similar looking. But to be honest, that's also a problem I've had with Final Fantasy Tactics because when you have like your party members who are just, jobs like mage and knight and things like that, sometimes you can get confused. So all you have to do is hover over them. Overall, I think if you are a fan of tactics games, this is a really great pickup. It's definitely a lot of fun. It's, again, we have so many pick up and play games for the Playdate that I think it would have been really cool if it had more of a fleshed out RPG story. And that's something that I would love to see if this evolves into, if like Daniel or someone else ends up making a more fleshed out, longer tactics based game with a more immersive story. But if you're not there just for the story, then this is an awesome like taste of a Final Fantasy Tactics or Fire Emblem game. So huge thank you for sending this to me, Daniel, and links for all of these, both catalog and itch.io, depending on whichever one is available, will be in the description below. Speaking of tactical, next we have The Shape That Waits, which is from Glotox Games. Pedro and Craig are the devs behind it, and they described it as a turn-based roguelike of claustrophobic survival, where the shape is always watching and always learning you. So with this game, you're basically trying to get to the next level, and it tells you how many floors till that. Like, for example, right now, the first step is to get to the med bay. And as you're moving, you burn oxygen, you lose sanity. You also have to be aware of like things like your ammo. And as you go around, you can scavenge for stuff. You can allocate your various skill points as well to, I believe, strength, accuracy, and perception, which is how many items that you can find. I haven't done like a quote-unquote complete run. I've only gotten to the med bay so far. It also has a really interesting use of the crank where you undock it and you can use it to pull out your gun and fight enemies from there. One thing this has in common with Super Splash League is this is also a game that is very busy. There's a lot to do, but once again, the devs make it quite legible and clear, and I'm just so incredibly impressed. While this game also doesn't have a tutorial per se, it does have loading screen tutorial cards that you can scroll through, and they answer a lot of questions, which is awesome. Some things you just have to learn by playing, and they're not that grave, such as, like what the level up stations look like, or the oxygen stations, or etc. The one thing that maybe is just less relevant early on that like I was having trouble actually understanding is the turn clock. I mean, I guess it's because it replenishes so quickly that I don't feel like there's really a limit on my turns. I imagine that might come into play more as you ascend and you encounter faster enemies, because just on these beginning levels, like I literally would see enemies that I could one-shot. In terms of pick up and play value, this is definitely one where if you have a longer amount of time to be able to do said pick up and play, this is really great for that. And if you want something that, you know, requires you to itch your brain a little bit more while playing it, then I don't know, like Root Bear or something. But overall, this is a very, very well-made game, and I think putting this survival roguelike game onto the Playdate is a very successful and cool miniaturization of the genre. Speaking of Root Bear, we have Say When. I initially actually saw Say When on Reddit, where the devs were sharing their idea and early progress. So it was really cool when they reached out to me to share a copy of it, because I was really excited about this. So if you're familiar with Root Bear, of like, you know, just giving enough root beer to the bears to make them happy and chasing the high score there, this is a bit of a build up on that. First off, it's cheesier because you are you're shredding cheese on people's pasta, which is amazing. And you basically just want to get it perfect. And they give you, unlike Root Bear where you have the line that tells you how far to fill, and it's about speed, with this one you kind of have recognition in the different characters of when they seem pleased with the amount of cheese that you've given them. And some of the tells are clearer than others. And one thing that you would probably consider is, well, once I can recognize all the tells, where is the fun in that? And that's where these modifiers, I think, add to the experience, because you can give yourself boosts or challenges or whatnot that really alter the gameplay and make every round less of a monotonous kind of thing. Also, when you run out of cheese, you have to refill the grater, and that is also its own mini game, which is amazing. The crank action is really smooth. The animations are fun. The art style has this kind of weird, unpleasant look to it. Not unpleasant as an insult, but like there's something off-putting about these characters. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. If you like Root Bear, this is a very, very good game in a similar genre. Christopher Udicek, I hope I'm saying that right, contacted me on Blue Sky about their game Carte Blanche. And as someone who is horrible at card games and briefly had a solitaire stint when I discovered it on my PC way, way back when. No, not even on my PC, on my iPod video. I was like, yeah, you know, I'll give it a look, but I suck at card games. And this is actually really amazing because it teaches you how to play the games. But, you know, most games teach you how to play them, right? However, the way that this game teaches you how to play the games is absolutely stellar. Like, I think having a good teacher a lot of times has to do with the back and forth that you can have. But despite that not existing, because it's a game, the game both teaches you in text, in visualization, in recapping things, and it doesn't feel tedious or like an info dump. It genuinely feels the same as going to a friend's place and they teach you how to play a card game and you're like eager and excited and they genuinely want you to learn. That doesn't mean I don't still suck at the card games. I learned how to play cribbage and I still keep losing to Blanche, but but it's an amazing start. And if you've ever caught yourself enjoying card games like on your phone or your iPod or whatever, check this out. Or if you found yourself being like, I hate card games, I don't know them, I don't understand them, this might actually help change your mind. Also, the artwork on this game is so clean and crisp and professional. The dialogue boxes, the text, everything is just so pristine. And it's just a really wonderful, professional, polished game app for the Playdate. Next we have by Gregory Kogos, who is the creator of Omaze, which is in Season 1, if you're familiar, which is a circular puzzle game that is quite intriguing and addictive. And it's this. This is what it is. So you're using the force of the bullets to move around, and it moves to a beat. I don't know, I wouldn't call it a rhythm game, but definitely a rhythm motivated game. And obviously you can also use the bullets to destroy any obstacles or enemies. And the goal is to get out of the room through the exit. There's not a ton to say about it, which I think should, if anything, convince you what a good game this is, because it's fun, it's engaging, the controls are smooth, it's intuitive. The pacing is also incredible because whenever you hit something and you die, it just starts over the room again quickly. And I think that's really great attention to detail, because a game like this that's so beat oriented, you don't want to lose your momentum, and allows you to stay in the groove. So I highly recommend you check this one out. Next up, we have Crankboy. Crankboy is the Game Boy emulator on Playdate. Now, if you were aware of Playdate Game Boy emulation in the past, there were a lot of issues, especially with the audio stuttering, and to the extent that it was nothing but a tech demo of, oh, you can get the image of the game on the screen, and that's sort of about it. But Crankboy is really ridiculously smooth, and it is not correctly scaled because the Playdate screen is a different aspect ratio from the Game Boy screen. And with some games, you can even choose which line on the screen to squish. But it's not terribly bothersome at all. It's not like putting 4:3 content in 16:9 or something. Visually, it's very pretty. You guys know I did Drew's RLCD DMG, which is a similar panel to what the Playdate uses, placed inside a DMG, and with a driver board that scales it accordingly. And so you'll know that I do love this look. Also, you have all the buttons except start and select, and you can assign those to the crank, which is honestly quite awkward, but what else can you do? In terms of Game Boy Color games, you can put them on, but none of the ones I tried ran, because why would they? It's a Game Boy emulator. I mean, even on that note, you wouldn't want a Game Boy Color game on this because it's not in color. But also any DX games might not be preferable on this because they do have a built-in color palette that activates on the Game Boy Color, and this wouldn't have it. You know, I think this is great for if you are craving a Game Boy game and all you have is your Playdate, or if you want to play in a more offline manner than playing on your phone or something. I'm always a proponent of the Playdate screen for being so easy on the eyes, to the extent that on days that I am not playing my Playdate, or if I'm on my phone a lot, it's harder for me to see the Playdate screen. But when I've been on the Playdate longer, it's a lot more crisp to me, which I think speaks a lot to just how much of our lives are consumed by activities that are straining our eyes so much that it's causing our vision to deteriorate and become bleary in a way that we're not even aware of until we try to look at something that is not emitting all the blue light in the world. Anyway, that's super tangential. Will I be using Crankboy? No, I won't. I have so many ways to play Game Boy games, and that's the origin and backbone of this channel even. But do I recommend Crankboy? Yeah, if this is something that you want to do, I think it's incredibly cool. And if anything, it's just worth showing it off to your friends. If you even have a game that you made for Game Boy, this would be one cool way to tech demo it too. But yeah, huge kudos to the Crankboy team. And to everyone who's worked on getting Game Boy emulation on the Playdate, because it's really come a long way. And whether it is for you or not, it is an incredible feat. And I love people doing crazy things that seem like they aren't going to be possible and then succeeding. Alrighty, and that was a review of all of these wonderful Playdate games as well as the Crankboy app. I hope that you found something that you loved in here, and I hope that this was interesting and fun to watch. As always, please in the comments be respectful of the Playdate games and the work that's been put in them. This is not the place for you to complain about why you don't want a Playdate or why you think it's too expensive or this or that. I literally have no affiliation with Panic or Playdate. I don't get anything out of this. It's just one of my passions. I bought this hoodie myself, so please just be chill about it. And for everyone else, I would love to know your favorite game from this lineup. If anything, is there a game that you think I should be checking out that I may not have? I certainly will look into it. And also, for those of you who've told me you would get a Playdate if it emulated Game Boy, are you gonna do it now? I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious if this was the make or break. Anyway, I've been your cool Uncle Marissa. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are interested in more Playdate game reviews for the time being, I did do a video on my Ko-fi, which you can watch for a $2 membership as a Nerdview Advance. And it was a review of every single game on my Playdate at that time. And there will certainly be more Playdate content incoming. So stay tuned and subscribe if that's something that you're interested in, or if you're just interested in Game Boy, I have plenty of that and will continue to do so because I do love retro consoles so much. Regardless, don't forget that Cool Uncle loves you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.